You all recently took this exam in computer science 1 to 9, and some people did very well, some people had some more problems. This series of videos is going to go right through the paper, taking one question at a time, showing you the techniques and understanding you need to get marks on this exam. Of course, there's things that aren't on this exam which may also come up, and I will try and go into some of those things as well. So, scrolling down, here we are. We have question 1. Now, question 1 is all about understanding how a program works from some pseudocode. So here we have some pseudocode, and we have got a number of questions about what this pseudocode contains. Some of them are very simple, some of them are more complex. So, first of all, we need to understand what these symbols in the pseudocode mean. You've got a pseudocode guide that I've given to all of you from AQA, and this is going to be the format that it comes in the final exam. You also need to know some key terms. So, on to part 1. It says the program uses iteration. On what line does the iteration start? So, you need to know the following. You need to know that iteration is a loop of some kind. So that might be a while loop, or it might be a for loop, or it might be a repeat until loop. Second thing you need to know is if this question is about selection, then selection means making choices. And this could either be an if statement, or it could be a switch statement. Not everybody has covered the switch statement yet. So, get rid of that. It's asking on what line does the iteration start. We're looking for a loop, and so what we can see is the key word here, while. So, we can see which line number it is on, just here. And so, we scroll down and our answer should be 5. So, that's what we need to ask for. Now, the second one says how many variables are used by this program. So for this, we need to know how to identify a variable in program code. So a number of people said 5, and I can understand why they did that, because they were looking at these assignments here and looking at the number of times that the variable was assigned. However, if we have a look through, we've got the variable n here, the variable guess here, and the variable attempts here. We also then use the variable guess here, and n gets used again here. Guess, like that, and then attempts comes here and here, and then lastly here. So what we can see is that we've got 5 assignments highlighted in the yellow, but we've only got 3 different variables, and that was the answer we were looking for. So, to identify the number of variables, you have to look for the number of different variables in the program. The number of assignments, you would look for the number of arrows. This question asks for the number of variables, and so the correct answer would be 3. The next question is really interesting. What we've got is, it's asked us, if the user enters a guess that is not between 1 and 10, then what will happen? And the most common wrong answer in this section is that the program will stop or the program will output an error. The thing is, the program cannot possibly do this. If you have a look at the output statements, so there is an output statement here, and there is an output statement here, and an output statement here, and one more in there. None of them talk about errors, so it can't output an error. The program doesn't stop because it doesn't come to an end based upon that. We have to actually look at the program in front of us instead of guessing from the words. C++ doesn't care what any of these words say in terms of what's inside the strings. I'll just show you what the strings are now. I'll highlight them in orange. So we've got a string here, and we've got a string here, and we've got a string here. So C++ doesn't mind what they say, and the only place that talks about 1 to 10 is within that string. Now we're getting quite a lot of formatting on here now, so I'm going to just rub all this out and see whether we can get rid of that like that, so we can see the code clean again. So we have to trace the program through. So I'm going to do this in an orange pen here, and we have to think about the variables. So we've got one variable that is n, one that is guess, and one which is attempts. So, looking at the first line of the program, we put a random number into n. So let's just say that that is 5. And then we put 0 into guess. We assign 0 to guess. Then, same with attempts. And then we output that. That doesn't affect our program. Then it says while n is not equal to guess. So n is currently 5 and guess is currently 0. So it will ask us to enter a guess, and then on this line it will actually get the user input. So if we try getting a number that is not between 1 and 10, so let's enter the guess as 12, then attempts is set to attempts plus 1. So that, we add 1 on, so attempts is now 1. And we go around the while loop, like this, and make the test again at the top. So 5 is not equal to 12. So we enter another guess. So the answer to this question is very simple. It's that the program asks the user to enter another guess. And attempts goes up by 1. Perfect. Now, sorry for the quality of my writing. It's a little bit hard to do on the computer screen, and as you all know, my writing isn't brilliant anyway. Right, next one. What is the purpose of line 3? So line 3 up here is this one. Attempts is set to 0. So I would have given you a mark if you would have said the purpose of the line is to put 0 into the attempts. But the real 2-mark answer is that it is used to initialize the variable attempts to 0. If you started the program and you did not set it to 0, then attempts would be created as a variable, but it would just be set to some value in a random piece of memory. So it might be 200, it might be 3017, it might be anything. And what you'll see is if you take this line out here, if you take this line out, then actually the program will go through, and if it was set to 217, when you enter a guess, the number of attempts will become 218, and if you answer it correctly first time, it will say you got it in 218 attempts. That's obviously not right. So initializing a variable on this line sets the value that we want it to start the program with. Next one, explain line 8. So line 8 is an assignment. So what we have is, say we are up in this situation here where attempts is 0. The program works out that attempts is set to attempts plus 1. It then realizes that attempts is currently 0, so it replaces attempts with the value 0. It then works out 0 plus 1, 1, and then it will store the value 1 in attempts, just as has happened up here. So to get both marks here, you need to use the keyword assignment. So assigns attempts to its previous value plus 1. Some people gave an example saying if it's 0, it will assign it to 1, but the important thing is that attempts changes on each iteration around the loop. So it must assign it to its previous value, whatever it is, plus 1. If you need any help on any of these questions, then please come and see me lunchtimes, break times, after school, and we'll talk through it.